Okay, folks, the WWE 2024 Hall of Fame ceremony last night from Philadelphia. So first of all, I think was it Peter Rothberg or Peter Rosenberg? One of the hosts, it may not have been him, but somebody, male host, I thought it was Rosenberg, could have been somebody else, kind of pre-death Thunderbolt Patterson. If anyone checks the tape or can find this thing, basically he was pitching to the back and said, some of the inductees this year are no longer with us, Thunderbolt Patterson and Muhammad Ali. Unless I'm mishearing him or misremembering, but I made a mental note at the time, it sounded like he basically buried Thunderbolt Patterson and Muhammad Ali in the same breath. I think he was confused, but also, folks, let's be honest, some of these talking heads in the WWE really aren't wrestling fans. You have a lot of these very attractive young women, basically, and I'm sure they're mild wrestling fans, but they're not historians, But this was a gentleman, this was a guy, not one of the ladies, so no offense to the Kylie Braxtons and so forths. Paul Heyman, oh yeah, there was one little catty moment when backstage, two of the women were backstage, and one of them said, "Hey, we have our Sunday best on," and the other lady said, "Actually, it's Friday best." So it was a little catty. I kind of enjoyed that. So we start off with Paul Heyman. So a lot of people were kind of surprised, as I was. I mean, I thought Heyman would be the last inductee, being in Philadelphia. I thought he'd kind of main event the show. But instead, he kind of opened the show, and Roman Reigns came out and did the speech. Roman's speech was not great. It was okay. A lot of people are going bongo, happy for Paul Heyman's speech, giving it false praise. If you really look at that speech, it's three parts. It's one element of kissing ass, Paul Levesque's ass, Stephanie McMahon, Brock Lesnar to an extent, Roman Reigns to an extent, CM Punk to an extent. It's another part putting himself over, basically saying how great he was and how great he'll continue to be. Almost a low-key threat of like, if you guys do fire me, I'll do something else type of thing. Or maybe he knows where some of the skeletons are buried, so to speak. I mean, did you catch that vibe? I did. And then the third part was just, I'm going to swear because it's a live presentation. I have a microphone. And I'm just, look, and I swear all the time too, but I'm not in front of a 20,000 seat arena on WrestleMania weekend in front of families and children, okay? So Paul Heyman, in my opinion, showing a lack of class, a lack of integrity, trying to be extreme, trying to be 1996 Paul Heyman, and I thought he just was kind of guttural and uninspiring. And because he used language of a obscenity-based nature, people think this is a great speech. It wasn't a great speech. In fact, it was kind of tepid. I noticed that he didn't actually put over some key people. I could put over key people to his career. Jerry Lawler in Memphis gave Paul Heyman an early break with the head-shaving angle with Tommy Rich and Austin Idol, okay? No mention of that. No mention of his work in Florida with Sir Oliver Humperdinck. No mention of the AWA for the Gagnes with Paul Heyman or Paulie Dangerous at the time with the original Midnight Express, Randy Rose and Dennis Condrey. No mention of the Jim Cornette feud that brought him into WCW. He just shat all over WCW, which is such low-hanging fruit from these type of individuals. I'm really sick of these former WCW wrestlers, including Steve Austin and The Undertaker, who all got their big breaks in WCW, and they all shit on it as if it meant nothing to them or to the fans. I'm intolerant of that behavior. What else? Didn't thank Jim Ross. I believe Jim Ross helped Heyman get commentary work in WCW and stuck up for him a few times. And I just wasn't really impressed. I mean, I know that a lot of simpletons were impressed with Paul Heyman's speech, and I wasn't. But, because it was such a gregarious affair, and people were so into it and all that horse shit, really didn't leave much room on the table for anybody else. Took up a lot of time. People are still wondering, why did he go first? I think it's honestly just because I think Roman Reigns wanted to get the fuck out of there. Didn't want to sit around in his monkey suit all night, his tuxedo, Roman probably wanted to get out of there. They go first and they can leave. That's the thinking. So the next one, Medusa was really not a very good speaker. No offense. I'm a big fan of Medusa. I call her Medusa, not her slave name, Alundra Blaze, okay? But I thought Medusa's speech was uninspired. Just not really good. It just seemed like a memorized horseshit speech. Bull Nakano, on the other hand, I thought the video package was very nice for Mr. Nakano. I guess she's about 56 years old. She looks like a very elegant lady now who kind of run a nice tea shop or some such thing. But, really it seemed like a class act. Look, she spoke better English than I would speak Japanese, that's for sure. So, I give her points for trying to communicate with us mainstream WWE fans. And interesting that Bull Nakano had the I believe she had the WCW women's title, but our buddy there, Alundra Blaze or Medusa, never did. So anyway, but yeah, I like Bull Nakano. But, it was what it was. Muhammad Ali, Undertaker inducting him just seemed like Undertaker's one of the inside guys now. He was one of Vince's guys. Now it looks like he's carried that over into one of, he's one of the inner circle. I don't know if I really like the post-Undertaker Mark Callis as much as I like The Undertaker, to be honest with you. I just don't. I know he's doing all these motivational speeches and horse shit, and I thought his Hall of Fame speech, I think it was 2 years ago, was pretty good, very good. But I don't know if I'm a big fan of this kind of, red meat eating, conservative, fucking Mark Callis. He's all right. But I don't know. I just didn't see the connection with Undertaker and Muhammad Ali. And then they somehow segue Sam this thing into a championship belt for the People's Champion to The Rock. It just seemed more like ego stroke. And at this point, The Rock did not come out to music. The fans kind of turned on The Rock. But he's supposed to be a heel. And The Rock was kind of acting offended or surprised that the fans were booing him, but he's playing the fucking number one heel in the company, so it seems confusing. I think at one point The Rock even said, "You guys don't know what to chant," but it's like, well, you're not giving us a clear indication. What are you? It's like the wrestlers expect the fans to switch gears. Oh, he's a baby face in this speech, but he's a heel tomorrow night. These guys are just, I don't want to say they're ruining the business. Then we had the U.S. Express. Neither one of these gentlemen were particularly great talkers. There's one speech by one promo by Barry Windham. All I need is this NWA title belt, my motorcycle, and myself. He did that at the TBS studios in May of '93. It was a great promo heading into his Beach Blast match with Ric Flair. But Barry Windham is not known as a mic guy. Neither was Rotundo, although you would kind of think that Rotundo was the better speaker last night. Kind of a weird situation. We all know the deal with, unfortunately, Bray Wyatt passed away. And, I'm clearly seeing that they're going to bring in the former Bo Dallas. They're not even using that name anymore. They're going to bring him in to do Uncle Howdy stuff. So it seems like that's all a build to this. Rotundo kind of suffering, not really sure how to use his phone to put on the light. I felt for him, old guy stuff. Windham was very generous in letting Rotundo do most of the speaking. I don't think Windham got to thank anybody. Windham's already inducted in the Hall of Fame with the Four Horsemen. Kind of an interesting passive-aggressive thing against Windham. He's a two-time Hall of Famer, but both times in groups, not as a single either time. Kind of a weird deal. But, it's still nice. So he was fine. Rotundo seemed very nice and everything. And a nice tribute to their fallen Bray Wyatt. And I'm sure Bray Wyatt will probably go in next year, if not the year after. But anyway, it was fine. The next one, the night was kind of dragging. The New Day comes out. First time we've seen them in a while. So what the fuck? Am I wrong, or is Big E more or less retired now? Can we say that? Is that unfair to say? I don't think he's wrestled in 16 or 17 months, if not more. I feel bad for the guy. But I kind of just wish we would have an indication. Maybe he doesn't know yet. But I mean, it's been a while. He's a very charismatic individual, Big E. But is he going to wrestle again? And I don't know. I really don't know. But they came out to introduce Thunderbolt. Some of the stuff was pretty interesting in the Thunderbolt package. You know, Dusty Rhodes and even the Road Dogg giving, you know, either giving him credit or other people giving credit on behalf of them. Others have claimed that Dusty Rhodes lifted a lot of stuff from Thunderbolt. And so now we have Cody on the record saying as much. The You Better Call Somebody line, I didn't know that that was a Road Dogg thing. So I thought that was a pretty good package for Thunderbolt. And I'm glad that he's alive to accept the award. Too many great wrestlers. You know, we always talk about this, the Evan Ginsbergs, the Benny Scalas, myself. We always mentioned Ivan Koloff, to a lesser extent, perhaps our buddy Ox Baker, are not being recognized by this WWE Hall of Fame. And Thunderbolt Patterson's kind of one of those guys that should be in, and now he is. And I think it was really nice that Thunderbolt, unlike Rosenberg or whoever thought he was dead, is not dead. He was able to come out and speak. It was nice to hear my buddy Mike Mooneyham get some credit in that speech. A wonderful journalist from the Greensboro News and Record, I believe, has been covering wrestling for a long time. Mike Mooneyham. He got double shout outs from both Thunderbolt and his little, manservant there. I think the guy's name was Scott Spears or some such thing. I'm not sure who that guy was, but his biographer or his buddy or whatnot. But it was pleasant. Thunderbolt tried to turn it into a church revival type of thing, like a kind of a anti-racism or something, or a don't blame Whitey for your problems speech, like the fucking pound cake speech, Bill Cosby or something. I wasn't really sure where it was headed. It's not that I terribly disagreed or agreed with what Thunderbolt was saying. I just didn't really know what the fuck he was saying, to be honest with you. And that whole gimmick of Thunderbolt, even in his career, of him working himself up into a frenzy, and then he can't say the words that come to his mind, like, I'm going to, ooh, it doesn't do it for me, even by old school standards. I'm going to, oof, like he's got to calm himself down. It stands out because it's kind of sucks, to be honest with you. And to be honest, the wrestling I haven't seen the best of Thunderbolt Patterson, the 30-minute VHS that might have been. But the matches that I've seen Thunderbolt Patterson in have not been great. So if anyone has a great link to a match of Thunderbolt Patterson recorded, I'd happy to watch it. I think he was one of these guys, like a Jimmy Boogie Woogie Man Valiant or a Baron Von Raschke, who kind of got by on personality, wasn't expected to have a fucking, Kenny Omega, Jushin Liger 5-star match in the Tokyo Egg Dome, but just a big personality, fun, and so forth. Then we get to, this is the problem. The Rock kind of blew his load early, so now The Rock gets a title and he inducts someone, and The Rock is not in the WWE Hall of Fame officially, but here he is inducting, his grandmother, and this is where things got a little off the boat, I think. Him and Cody's interaction, I think the move would have been for them to, forcibly remove Cody. I'm just thinking this off the top of my head. If they had security come out and forcibly remove Cody before The Rock went out there, wouldn't that have been interesting? That would have been good, because having Cody just feet away from The Rock, and The Rock literally took a fucking weightlifting belt and whipped the shit out of him on Raw a few days ago, wouldn't it make sense if, The Rock had security go out and escort Cody, and maybe Triple H had to come out and talk to Cody to get Cody away from The Rock? That would have been better than this kind of thing where The Rock's standing right above the guy. Cody has to stand up. There was a moment where I think The Rock acknowledged Dusty Rhodes or some shit thing, and then Cody kind of stood up, and I don't know if Cody was laughing or it was kind of a thank you brother moment. And these guys are kind of the best thing going in WWE right now. It's not Roman versus Cody, it's The Rock versus Cody. So you'd think that these two guys who've constructed this feud kind of out of nowhere would honor that, but of course they can't. So I just think the Hall of Fame is this goofy thing in some regard where we're all supposed to just put kayfabe to rest for a night, put each other over, say how great we are, say how great the fans are. Everybody sucks each other off for a night. And then, okay, folks, resume pose and go into WrestleMania mode. I just think that perhaps if they did the Hall of Fame at a different time of year, maybe SummerSlam, maybe Survivor Series, maybe its own special time of year or whatever the fuck. I was going to say time of month, but its own special thing, just hooking it into WrestleMania, especially with the two-night WrestleMania, it's feeling a little bit too much, to be quite honest with you, okay? So I just wish that they would perhaps separate the Hall of Fame, kind of like when they separated the Money in the Bank ladder match yearly thing from WrestleMania. I think it's kind of outgrown it. Like, I think the Hall of Fame now needs its own little spot in the WWE Universe calendar, okay? Because I feel like it's being shoehorned. Another thing that I've been on the record of saying, I don't particularly like the live audience for the Hall of Fame. Now, I did think this Philadelphia crowd was very respectful, especially with Thunderbolt Patterson. I thought that a lesser crowd, and it was Philly too, to be quite honest with you. So I thought a lesser crowd might have chanted at Thunderbolt or, boarding him or something. But they were very respectful. I think it's a lot for these poor fans to sit through a 2-hour, pre-WrestleMania SmackDown, which is basically a last-minute plug for SmackDown. Then we're going to throw this Hall of Fame at you. And like I said, not that I'm, parent prude or whatever the fuck, but I mean, these families come to this Hall of Fame thing and they're expecting a nice family entertainment, and you have Paul Heyman, I believe at one point, I could be wrong, but did he say something like, they can suck my fucking dick? Like, it was all censored out, but I think that's what he was saying. So I just don't understand. Paul Heyman thinks, it's such a great speech. It wasn't a fucking great speech. It was a classless, degenerate speech. Didn't mention New Jack. Didn't mention New Jack slicing up a 16-year-old's head. Didn't mention all the guys that he owes money to in ECW. Didn't mention any of that stuff, did he? So I'm just not a big Paul Heyman fan and so forth. So that's it. So, this was a pretty disappointing Hall of Fame. I watched it, yet I was still doing other things. This has been pissing me off. This visor thing, that's the best I've ever folded it up. Usually it takes about 20 minutes to get not even that. And it's not even nice and tight. It's this I do enjoy this. I have it. This is when you get old, you start thinking about things like this. Like, how do I keep my vehicle chilly or less heat? And you get these goddamn things, and there you go. Anyway, folks, that's it. Your buddy Mike Messier. Enjoy the rest of WrestleMania.